Hello everybody, and welcome to another instalment of Amazing Customer Stories, this time around with Doctaly. My name is Simon Johnson, and I'm the UK GM for Freshworks. I'm joined today by Phil Tyler, COO of Doctaly. Phil, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Simon. Yes, so Chief Operating Officer at Doctaly, and I've also been leading our most recent project working with Freshworks over the past 18 months.
Perfect. Thanks, Phil. For those of you that don't know, Doctaly is a fantastic UK-based healthcare platform, enabling doctors to work with private patients remotely. Phil, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Doctaly?
So as you mentioned, we're a UK-based company, and we've operated both with private and with NHS patients as well. During the pandemic, in conjunction with Freshworks and your technology platform, to build a new product which has managed to be used quite significantly throughout, particularly the second wave of the pandemic here in the UK. So yeah, we've managed to serve thousands of customers, used by hundreds of doctors.
Yeah, it's been amazing actually watching the evolution. So what particular Freshworks products are you using, and how have we supported the work that you're doing with your patients in the community?
Two main pieces of your stack that we use are Freshchat and Freshbots. We basically offer up our product sits in a Healthtech space called remote patient monitoring, or RPM for short. And essentially our platform was used heavily during COVID, but also now post-COVID for sort of monitoring of long-term conditions. The idea of it was moderately ill COVID patients who are at home, they can use our platform, and we use the integration with WhatsApp and other platforms as well, other comms platforms. They can use our platform while they're at home to go through a clinical assessment. That information is then surfaced through Freshchat to the clinicians, and then the clinicians can then use the various chat features, and we've added video to interact with the patient, check they're okay, and then direct them to get additional help if needed. And the key thing there is it's the entire way it works with the sort of chat feature, the asynchronous chat with the chatbot up front, saves a huge amount of time. To do this process over the phone takes about 25 minutes per patient. Using the technology and approach we've taken, we've got that down to about 4.5 minutes. So you can imagine during the pandemic with thousands of patients and doctors incredibly overstretched, how valuable that's been.
Absolutely amazing. And what are the sort of biggest industry challenges that you're facing?
The first is all around patient adoption. So when we looked at this problem at the start, you can have the most fantastic product, but if you struggle to get patients to use it, to adopt it, then you're wasting time really. When we were designing our platform called Doctaly Assist, we took that very much from the starting point and thought, actually, the typical approach to this is app-based. But apps are part of the problem. App fatigue is quite a common phenomenon now. So we wanted to dispense with the app entirely, and therefore surface our chatbot and subsequent interactions with the clinician, surface it all through something that people use day in, day out. And that's where we chose WhatsApp. So adoption is one piece, and then the second is around clinical time, in order to make the adoption hurdle for the clinical side, to make that worthwhile.
What other features have made a difference in enabling your clinicians?
So yeah, the WhatsApp integration has been a key part of lowering the technology adoption hurdle, as far as you physically can. The seamless way we can integrate the chatbot. The patient goes through the chat flow, 18, 20 questions, they put in all their various information, how are they feeling, are they breathless, etc. The seamless way that we can take that, surface it up to the clinicians in Freshchat, and then have them essentially pick up the thread and carry on the conversation with the customer. We use the private notes feature quite significantly in Freshchat, actually for recording any clinical notes. So if a doctor's concerned and they pick up the phone to the patient and speak to them on the phone, they can capture the detail of that in a private note. And also the canned messages, the template messages are very widely used. The canned messages have been also instrumental in bringing that level of efficiency that we talked about. So the ability for doctors to very quickly fire off guidance on, here are some breathing exercises, this is what you need to do, whatever it is, here's how you use your inhaler. There's an infinite number of possibilities, but the ability to package those up and make that interaction, that chat consultation as quick as possible has been key as well.
What are the metrics that you're actually looking at to measure the success?
Things like take-up rates, drop-off rates of patients, time to assess and resolve assessments. So there's sort of an initial suite of sort of direct metrics that are quite obvious. Below that, your next layer is what we would describe as the outcomes, avoiding unnecessary trips to A&E or unnecessary ambulance call-outs. but also, getting them into hospital quickly, perhaps quicker than they otherwise might. And then when you start looking at long-term conditions, then it's about, how well managed are people's conditions, how often do they need an intervention.
Thanks, Phil. So let's talk about the top tips then. So what are your top tips for organizations when selecting a partner in automation and chat-based support?
So I think my top three would be, for any business, whatever business you're in, obviously customer, or for us, patient adoption is absolutely key. So select a partner who can offer you a broad range of channels to engage, and then making sure you have a kind of seamless transition from your automated chatbot through to a human, making sure that that's well managed. And thirdly, think about segmenting your sort of agent workforce. So make sure that your technology platform can support that model. So by that, I mean, for us, we risk stratify patients as they come in based on their answers. So I don't want a low-risk patient necessarily taking up the time of a doctor when they can probably be perfectly adequately handled by a paramedic or a senior nurse. So again, making sure that your platform partner will support that sort of delegation escalation model.
Really keen to sort of understand what the feedback's been like from patients, from healthcare professionals, the doctors and clinicians, and also the wider community that have been using and providing support with Doctaly and Freshchat.
The patient feedback is unsurprisingly incredibly positive. I would say that if I had to pick one word that sort of encapsulate the feedback, it would be reassuring. So we've had some amazing feedback. On the clinician side, the main feedback we're getting is they really appreciate it's a very different way of consulting. I guess it gives doctors some of the benefits that perhaps those of us in other sectors have enjoyed for a while, a degree of flexibility.
So I'd just like to say thank you very much for your time today. I'm personally really excited for Doctaly. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. My pleasure.